In this video, we're going to take a look at solving absolute value inequalities. So let's say we have the absolute value of x is less than or equal to 3. Well, again, going back to that common theme of distance, this is saying that the distance from x to 0 is less than or equal to 3, which is really easily seen if we think about it on a number line. We need a number that's less than or equal to 3 away from 0. So above 0 we could go over to 3, and below 0 we could go over to negative 3. So we're really just looking for the values that fall in between negative 3 and positive 3. And the easy way to write that is to write, well, we have negative 3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to positive 3. So if we compare this to our original absolute value statement, in getting rid of the absolute value bars, I need to add a second inequality symbol, just like I added a second equation earlier. And I need to add a negative value, just like I added the negative value earlier. But this time, since it's in between negative 3 and positive 3, I'm just going to insert that negative value over on the left, and I'm going to include another absolute value symbol that's going to match up with the original absolute value. Now remember that this is less than. So since this is less than, I use a trick that for absolute values, less than always ends in and they're always the and problems. So trying that again, we have x minus 5 is less than 7. So in this case, I'm going to write x minus 5 is less than 7, and then just to the left, I'm going to write that other inequality symbol that matches up with the less than sign, and I'm going to write the negative 7 to the left of it. So I'm going to add 5, add 5, add 5. That's going to give me negative 2 is less than x, which is less than 12. And on a number line, I would graph my inequality, 0, negative 2, positive 12, open circle at both of those values, and I would shade in between them because x is in between negative 2 and positive 12. So what if I have the absolute value of x is greater than 5? Now you notice my emphasis on the greater. So with absolute value problems, I'm going to emphasize the or when I'm looking at a greater than sign. So I need the distance from x to 0 to be 5 or more, meaning that I need to be at positive 5 or further to the right, that is an open circle there at 5, or I need to be at negative 5 or further to the left. So I need x to be greater than positive 5, or I need x to be less than negative 5. Notice in this case, I added the inequality symbol to the right of my x. I made two completely separate signs, or two completely separate inequalities, and while one was positive, the other was negative. Trying that again, I'm going to solve 2x minus 4, the absolute value, is greater than or equal to 4. So again, 2x minus 4 is greater than or equal to 4, or 2x minus 4 is less than or equal to negative 4. I'm going to add 4 to both sides. 2x is greater than or equal to 8, and x is greater than or equal to 4. Going to add 4 to both sides again. 2x is greater than or equal, less than or equal to 0. X is less than or equal to 0. So my solution is that x is either greater than or equal to 4, or it's less than or equal to 0. So there's my 0, there's my 4. I have a closed circle at 4 and shaded to the right. I have a closed circle at 0 and shaded to the left. The common theme with absolute values has been that when we're comparing absolute values to a negative number, we should be very concerned. Remember that absolute values are talking about distance. So if I have an absolute value and I'm saying that it's greater than a negative number, well, that's always true. An absolute value is always going to be greater than a negative number because an absolute value is measuring distance and distance is always positive. So absolute value greater than a negative number is always all real numbers. On the other hand, if I have an absolute value of x being less than or equal to a negative number, remember that absolute values are distance, and distances are always positive. So positive numbers can never be less than negative numbers. So when I'm comparing an absolute value to a negative number, and I'm saying that the absolute value is less than the negative, I'm always going to say no solution. So just something to keep in mind. Again, it's comparing those absolute values to negative numbers that has us so concerned.